Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Desert Dark Crusade Season 2. On this fine evening set within Odessa, a new arrival has entered the domain. Unbeknownst to many, as the nosferatu like to be. A fairly aged and powerful Cainite by the name of Eudemon. A former resident of Constantinople, the city of the dream, now a rather fragile and ramshackle princedom under the reign of Alfonso of Venice. Quite literally in both metaphor and in reality, a shadow of what it once was. But Eudemon has organized a meeting with Prince, who he, interestingly enough, has known for quite a while. Their relationship goes back some distance, quite some time, even back to the Prince's earlier days, and she is not particularly young either. And upon hearing that you've made yourself a resident of this domain, Eudemon, she has pulled some strings to make life a bit easier for you. You've had a simple enough stay in the Warrens, but you haven't had as many issues getting around on the streets. If you give her any aliases you're using, she makes life easier for them, at least until you get introduced to her. You're given some warnings about the state of the city, that it's not particularly safe right now, and there is something of an ongoing praxis conflict, although the bulk of the domain seems to be loyal to her. She also gives you a very convenient entrance into the palace. There is an entrance through the water, in which you can simply head through a rather broken up or rather removed vent. Not that it would have been hard for you to break, being a nosferatu. It's very simple for you to make your way in and subtly just kind of sneak your way into the building without having to go through all the pomp and ceremony of being guided through the palace by a ghoul or some official figure. You can just avoid the mortals if you wish.
Which he does, and without really much in the way of using powers of the blood, more than just his natural ability to be unseen and move through the shadows. But eventually he will find his way based on instructions that were sent to him as to how to navigate the palace, and he finds his way to where the prince is designated that they meet this evening. And will step inside without anything in the way of an invitation.
She'll be meeting you. Needless to say, it's the palace. There are rooms within rooms. Most of them don't even have a purpose other than to be pretty or to be comfortable. No, she doesn't meet you in where she meets a lot of other people. She actually meets you. She meets you in a private chamber. It's a bit more comfortable than the other room. She meets people in a lot of ornate furnishings. Sealed room, no windows, no balcony to walk into. Well lit, very pretty to look at. Some lovely paintings on the walls. And a bit less official. She's not behind a desk or anything. She's just sitting on a chair. And there's kind of a table, a small kind of knee-high table in front of it, with a few more chairs around it. And when you enter, she'll simply stand for you and approach and go to shake your hand.
So yeah, he steps inside and closes the door behind him before turning that masked visage upon the prince. And whenever she approaches and offers a hand, he will meet her halfway and take the hand in a familiar, very familiar fashion. And when that is finished, he will put a hand against his chest and lower his head in a show of fealty. It has been too long.
It has been, hasn't it? How long has it been? Good few decades now, I think.
47 years, if I recall correctly.
Too long indeed.
You've done well for yourself.
I was thrown a few opportunities. Still seeing if I can make the most of it. City's in quite a state right now.
Ever a struggle.
Please sit down, there's quite a lot to talk about.
Only briefly, he says, and he sort of moves to her side and then, like, takes the opposite way that she'll go around to take her seat, and he'll sit down in the distinguished chair.
Yeah, she just sits down back where she was before. You arrive at a very interesting time.
So I hear.
An ongoing Praxis conflict and at least two Methuselahs attempting to make some sort of obscure power play over this domain.
Unsurprising. Although perhaps more overt than we're used to.
One of them...
Shades of Constantinople.
Yes. She kind of looks... You can roll perception empathy if you want whenever you mention a dream around her.
Give me just a moment. This character actually has that, I think.
Yep, yeah, he does. You know, empathy is a great way to gain information about people. Oh, I forgot to set us up on dice roll real quick. 1 second. There we go. Okay, there we go. Dice roll 1 will do.
Two successes.
Oh, never mind. Um, yeah. Whenever, yeah, when you bring up Shades of Constantinople, that does kind of concern her a bit. She has a slightly troubled look on her face. You maybe think worried. Maybe she's concerned what befell Constantinople may also befall Odessa.
I'm certain that if we navigate things carefully, it won't come to that.
One can only hope. I had always assumed the case of Constantinople was that of a perfect storm, yet Odessa also finds itself in a similar state. My clanmates. Well, I'm sure you already know Herman.
His name is known to me.
He has been the one driving most of this conflict for this praxis, and I'm regretful to say has done a fairly successful job of dividing the clans on the topic of the Salubri and the Tremere.
Word had reached me that things of that ilk had been somewhat allayed. Distressing to find it otherwise.
It has been a difficult balancing act to ensure that the Salubri and the Tremere can coexist without every other clan jumping on opportunity for some sort of gain or bloodshed. I'm still not convinced that it is a possibility. I rendered one of the Salubri Primogen status, but it appears... Well, I suppose it depends. I have a task for him. He may not remain Primogen for much longer. Funnily enough, it involves us going back to the place where you were once embraced.
I see. I can only say that my interest in Clan Salubri is passing at best, although I do intend to become more intimate with their goings-on.
I would be careful. The Tremere, she air quotes, elder has now made himself known within the domain in response to the sudden uptick in Salubri. No doubt he intends to resolve the issue of the Salubri in his own particular fashion.
Well, I don't envy you in that case. Either could be great allies with the right conditions. Set against each other, it could be very destructive for the city.
Well, the city very much is at and ready for more war. Your clan, however, has done a fairly good job of remaining outside of it.
Outside does not necessarily befit our talents. I would rather think we like to be inside, with no one the wiser.
Well, your primogen has very much been giving me that impression.
Tell me of this man.
One second, I can look him up real quick. Azad is... He's one of the more militant of your clan, from what I have seen. Quite a bloody sense of humor, very much possessed of your clan's very infamous humor. He seems distant, but surprisingly forthright when he does appear. He has made himself known only recently, however. The former Primogen is believed to have either vanished or have been destroyed by Herman and his renegades. The Nosferatu clan were one of the first clans to have been hit in this Praxis war. Or rather, many of your younger ones were unfortunate casualties. I believe it was an attempt by Herman to offset any advance warning we might receive of his attempted usurpation of the domain. But he was only partially successful, it seems.
A wise strategy, but very difficult to achieve.
Yes, he made attacks on Nosferatu outside of the Warrens. I don't believe he's managed to locate it, although I believe you'd be far more educated on that subject than I.
The things that reach my ears, they are numerous.
Then you've also probably heard of another situation brewing in the midst of all this chaos. Another uptick in the amount of mortal hunters in the city. Due to a rather few fantastic creatures of the silence. Worse is that this time they appear to be actually organizing themselves in that they might actually be a threat. They seem to be gathering artifacts of faith. The Salubri wanted one of them, but last time I met him, he had apparently lost it to these hunters somehow.
That's troublesome.
A sword. Or pieces of one. Belonged to, funnily enough, one of our enemies, Tabris. Truth be told, only allowed the Salubri in this city because they managed to destroy one of the most powerful enemies. Or rather, they managed to contain one of them. You've yet to be destroyed.
Fortunes can change with the wind.
I am concerned if the Tremere do as Tremere will, or if this war takes the Salubri from us, then, well, we'll just be back to square one. Maybe best that this Tabris meets an untimely end. I can appreciate the Suluri wanting to protect their own given their circumstances, but it's not. It's not exactly conducive if they're to continue legitimizing their presence here. Particularly that this.
I will presume that you also appreciate initiative.
Yes, I do.
Perhaps I might spare an interest to such matters.
Would it be appreciated?
I'm to understand that you have a very specific interest for me within the city. It has been weighing heavily on my anticipation.
Yes, fairly straightforward. But given everything that's happened, something I feel.
I'm certain that I can find very many turns for something so straightforward.
I noted your clan has been distant but forthright. Truth be told, I haven't seen a hint of a nosferatu in the past few months, your primogen included. And given the divide Herman has caused within this domain, I'm somewhat concerned as to whether any members of your clan might be taking the wrong sort of initiative.
A terrifying thought.
Understandable, given the rather unsubtle sins of Vitremere. But not something that can be afforded within this domain as of right now.
Every clan carries its sins. I would be lying if I said that I find what those degenerates do to be tasteful, but the health of a domain, that is paramount.
Yes, and I believe an additional face.
A loyal face.
Might ease concerns of both Venture and Nosferatu alike. Might also make your clan feel a bit more secure and at ease, given the attacks Herman has made on them.
I do bring a certain amount of stability to the domains I frequent, whether they know it or not.
And I have noted that.
I would not have come if it were not for, well, our past dealings. This is a frightful place, given the whispers coming from it, but I intend to do my part. I've lived in that wreckage of a domain for far too long. The stagnation is sickening.
Well, if nothing else, Odessa is definitely a city of opportunity. And knowing the sort of gentleman that you are, I'm sure you'll take advantage of that.
If I do, I pray that you never hear of it. Else would I be doing what I am meant to do?
Very true, very true. I'll have a few opportunities for you in the near future, if what the red man is saying is true. So you'll have, I believe we'll have plenty of opportunities for more mutually beneficial deals.
Allow me to make my way to the traditional places my kind roam. Carve out a piece for myself. Perhaps I will bring you a trophy between now and then. And perhaps you will legitimize my claim. While I deal with my primogen. I don't wish to upset the established order if I don't have to, of course.
Of course. I'll handle the administration for you.
Well then, it would seem that there's much work to be done.
There's been no shortage of it. A pleasure seeing you again, Eudemon. Look forward to working with you again.
Oh, as do I. I'm looking forward to becoming intimately knowledgeable of the denizens of this city. And he slowly makes his way to his feet.
That's all the prince. And she'll get to shake your hand again.
He will shake the hand, and once he has done that, he will once again do the more traditional bow of fealty, and then will simply say from behind the mask, the glint of one eye gleaming through the eye hole of his mask, will say, "Would you like me to close the door behind me?"
No, I'll be making my way out as well.
Very well. And he turns and makes his way out the door.
The prince will follow. She shuts the door behind her and heads down the opposite end of the corridor. As I believe we can end the scene there. Thank you, Perfect Planning. Thank you, watchers, watching. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.